Hi, today we are in Berlin with Ciarán from EarlyBird. Ciarán, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Ciarán. I'm a venture capitalist at a firm called EarlyBird, and I'm a partner there. And so we invest in early stage, basically internet companies. Mainly in Berlin, in the sense that mainly is slightly north of 50%, but we also invest all across Europe.
Ah, okay. And what did you do before you started working in the VC industry?
So I probably have the worst possible background you can have as a VC. For a year before I became a VC, I tried myself out as an entrepreneur. Wasn't very successful. I think that's the good part. The bad part is before that I was at a very large private equity house, and before that I was at an investment bank. Working on big transactions, and it turns out that venture capital and working with entrepreneurs is really not about transactions. It's about relationships. So I literally think that I'm a VC not because of what I did, but despite of what I did. But hey, I'm here.
Yeah, okay, so you would say if somebody would like to start working in a venture capital fund, don't go the IB, PE route, but more go to the entrepreneurial route.
Oh, definitely. I think if you had to do something like that, I'd rather go to a consulting firm where you just think more holistically about things. It's not as transactional. Doing operational things, working for a startup, trying yourself as an entrepreneur, it makes you just appreciate so much more, the difficulties and the mechanics of how things actually work. And it's important because if you're working with entrepreneurs and you want to be a good sounding board and an advisor and you've got actually no idea how something works, then it's something you can address. And there's lots of very successful venture capitalists like Fred Wilson and a couple of others that were never entrepreneurs, but it's a weakness you need to manage and be aware of.
Yeah, you need to understand what the entrepreneurs are doing in order to assess the ops, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why when you start off as a VC, the key thing to do is just suck up everything, spend lots of time with the companies, don't try and be too smart, just respect the entrepreneurs and really, really learn, and then you can gradually, I think, become a useful VC.
Okay. Ciarán, tell us a little bit more about EarlyBird. So where is this VC fund coming from? You told us a little about the regional focus, that you're investing in Europe, mainly in Germany. And on the other hand, what is your kind of business model focus?
So we've changed significantly, I guess, since we were born. And when EarlyBird was born, I was still in high school. Yeah. So it was a German fund based out of Munich and Hamburg, and invested in pretty much all across technology. Actually, even invested in the US for a while, and then kind of a couple of years ago, came up with this new strategy that we would really focus on Europe and a couple of key hubs. So Berlin and Western Europe, also the Nordics is a real focus for us. Mm-hmm. But we also just raised an emerging markets fund. We have a separate team that invests in Turkey and CEE. So we like literally all of Europe now is what we want to do. In terms of our DNA, we're very much focused on companies that create platforms, communities, networks, marketplaces, so that are connecting nodes. And by connecting lots of nodes, they're making industries better, more efficient, taking out the middleman, these kind of things. What we're not so good at is pure e-commerce, so just buying stuff, selling it on at the margin. We're not so good at hardware, unless it's a kind of a commodity thing and the intelligence is in the internet or a software piece. And I think another thing is that with very few exceptions, we really like to back European companies, but that have a global potential from day one. Mm-hmm. So not models that you have to scale country by country and region by region. And you can do that, and there's very successful companies doing that. But our focus and our skill set is more to really, identify products that can go globally very quickly and help them do that. And then maybe just to round up, how we invest is we'll do anything from a couple $100,000 at seed stage. Our sweet spot is still the Series A, where we'll invest like 1.5 to 3-4 million at most, and the occasional Series B where we'll kind of join with 5 to 7, maybe at most 10 million. But we're lifetime investors, so once we're in and we like the company, we'll invest up to 15 or 20 million over all rounds until we run out of money.
Yeah, and the platform investments that you are doing, do you have some kind of specific expertise that help people, companies scale maybe more efficient? Maybe you have some kind of specific marketing knowledge or something like this that you can really create an add-on value for entrepreneurs?
Oh, absolutely. So we're thinking very hard about, how do we become the best product for an entrepreneur? So money is one part, but there needs to be lots of other things around it. I think the strongest asset we have is the community of people in our portfolio. So, we're very fortunate that we have lots of amazing entrepreneurs and lots of amazing companies, and they have lots of amazing employees, and we're now building tools to help connect these employees across companies, around marketing, around product, around design, around sales, around organization, and we have some workshops, master classes, we've got a HR database, where that kind of stuff. So that's one thing, is utilizing the asset we already have. The other thing is that because we're kind of a little bit specialized on these platforms and marketplaces and communities, and the more you see, the more investments you make, the more mistakes you make, you get to transfer knowledge. Right. So that's something we do. The other thing that we do is we actually just brought on board Konstantin Gericke, and he's one of the co-founders of LinkedIn, and he's based in Palo Alto. Now, we don't invest there, but he helps our European companies do business development, hiring there, opens doors. If a company moves there, he may take the board seat to work with them closely there. So, a real credible presence in the US. And lastly, I think we have a pretty strong track record of co-investing and syndicating with a lot of the larger and high-quality US VCs. So we kind of bring that to the table, that we're connected to this sort of global community, and I think that can help our companies get out. At the end of the day, though, it's always down to the entrepreneur. We can only catalyze and help.
Ciarán, if you would try to explain to an entrepreneur, how is your investment process working? So once he applied, sent you a business plan, or got an intro from a friend of yours, etc., what is the typical process on your side, maybe that they didn't even see?
So the first thing is, I would say, definitely don't send a business plan, and ideally don't even have a business plan. I think, especially in Europe, where we used to think that, early stage entrepreneurs, you write a 100-page Word document, all these things, and trying to plan a future. Don't. Show us your product, show us your team, show us, of course you can have some slides, ideally 1, maybe 10, but keep it short. Let the team and the product speak for itself. It can be very early, it can be an alpha version, whatever, it can be closed beta, that kind of stuff. But we much more get excited about that than like, this makes a lot of sense, So I think it would be tangible. The other thing is that indeed, of course we have a tech@earlybird.com email address, and we read every email there. It can take a while, but we'll get back to everything. But the world has all these tools that empowers literally everybody quickly to get to anybody else in the world. Right. So to get an introduction, it does help, because it also helps us like, if this guy is willing to do this introduction, obviously, So I think that's it. The other thing is again, I don't like this part of being a VC, and I feel sometimes very bad, but we just get so many emails. We're so hammered that sometimes I can be very slow to respond, and it's actually absolutely okay, and it's not good. I like not doing my job properly by not doing that, but that's why if I don't respond within a week or when I have whatever, it's totally okay to re-ping me again and be like, hey, I just wanted to float this to, and then I'll be sorry. And the other thing is, I would say that it's okay as an entrepreneur. I think in Europe we used to be like, an entrepreneur is a very slick, business-driven person, and the reality is the best entrepreneurs are rough, quirky, maniacs, don't have a linear profile. So it's totally okay to be a bit. You don't try and be somebody else than you are. We like working with wacky, crazy people.
Okay, and related to the investment process, so what are the typical things that you look at?
Yeah, so there's a couple of hard things and soft things. So the first thing is like, just purely mathematically, because our fund size is the way it is, we need to be involved in companies that, if they're highly successful, they can become companies that are worth a lot, so more than $1 billion. like uncapped upside early. The other thing that we look for is kind of like, do they have the DNA to kind of at least have a fair chance of doing that? So I know everybody says it, but it's just true. The team, the team, and often it's the team, but it's kind of also just the core founder in many cases, just the one crazy guy, So we look at that. The other thing is we just look at your level of disruption. Are you just like another cosmetic layer? Are you fixing something that many other people can fix quickly, or are you really bringing a meaningful amount of disruption to the market? The last thing kind of is are you, well, not the last thing, but another important thing is, do you have benefits of scale? So the larger you get, are you creating defensible, network effects? Are you creating defensible structures? These kind of things. And then the other thing is there a semi-capital efficient, meaningful way to get there? So once things are working out, it's okay to pile on money like there's no tomorrow to create this global category leader, but you don't want to, as a VC, spend like 10% of your fund to find out if it works. So that's why with like biotech, it doesn't work for us. So I think that also that there are these logical points in the business where you're like, with the A round, we can actually get to where you should be at a B round. And usually, of course, it doesn't happen. There's delays and whatever. But there's that, and then there's the other aspect which I think is really important is the human aspect. Like it's a very intense relationship. It really can be day and night, and very emotional. And do we connect on like a personal level? We don't have to but we need to be able to work together through good times and through bad times, and so getting a good feeling for that is very important. And in terms of process time-wise, it can be anything from like 2 days, up to a couple of months, depending on how do we still need to get to know each other better? Do we have this big unsolved thing we need to just work out? How well do we know the people that we're working with? Maybe we know them already. But it's usually what we find is that it's beneficial to the entrepreneur and to the VC if you have at least 3-4 like in-depth personal face-to-face meetings, maybe have a dinner and a beer before you get, just to like really figure things out. But I think on average it's kind of like 2 to 3 meetings before we'll decide if we want to kind of like make an investment, and that can be anywhere from 2 to maybe 4 weeks, and then once we decide we want to invest, it's just mechanics, whatever.
Okay. Ciarán, we always try to give some advice for first-time entrepreneurs. What are some key learnings that you learned over the years?
Yeah. So one is be encouraged when people laugh at what you're doing, when they say, that's never going to work, or somebody else doing it. Like, no great idea started off by everybody saying, that makes a lot of sense. So if you're hearing that, you should probably be worried. The other thing is that, I think sharing your idea, like especially in Germany, there's this very particular Germany, there's lots of like, I'm in stealth mode. Yeah. Like, unless you're an actual stealth fighter, that makes very little sense. The benefits you get by telling people about your idea, getting their feedback, seeing how they react, way outweighs the risk of, what's the probability of somebody saying, that sounds great, I'm going to go do it? Like 0. And what kind of idiot is that? Like, they're probably not going to be very good at it. So, get lots and lots of feedback. And then the other thing is try and start building things really, really early. Form a thesis around a minimal lovable product, not viable product. Form a thesis around who it should work for. I guess it's the whole, lean startup movement, but just get going, and don't worry too much about nailing every aspect, because nearly all great companies, if you look at how they started and you look at what they're today, it's like, how did they ever,
Reid Hoffman made a great quote on that. If you're not embarrassed of your first product, you did not ship it early enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And then, it's a roller coaster ride. There's lots of ups and downs. Even the best companies I think Amazon, they raised their first seed round from 50 angels, and everybody just gave a small amount of money. So just because you're having difficulties at the beginning and you're getting negative feedback doesn't mean you're the next $100 billion company. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it.
Thank you very much, Ciarán.
Thank you.
And if you're looking for a great investor, maybe check out Ciarán from EarlyBird.